Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I am your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, folks. And listen, we have a lot of people out today. Crispy got called into work. Dreadpool is still at work. Big announcement. VJ, you know him from the Xbox Factor podcast. He'll be joining us on a regular every Friday basis. I'm very excited for that. Obviously, I know he has a lot of fans. Some people think he talks too much, but I think that is what makes him incredibly special. And I'm honored to have him on the show next week. I got some Halo footage that I recorded today. These are just bots. If I didn't tell you that, you'd be like, "Damn, Boom is really good." I'm okay. I can hold my own in Halo, but these are just bots, and I needed to play on this map because, damn, this map is so good. But yes, we're gonna have a lot to talk about, folks. We're gonna open up with a human story. I bring it up because in the gaming space, we rarely take the time to give credit where credit is due. And I'm talking about Chris Judge, who is the voice of Kratos. And he did something absolutely incredibly risky, I would say. That he went out on the social medias, if you will, and basically put on his shoulders the delay of God of War. We're going to get into what he had to say and why that delay is his fault, according to him, not to me. That's his words, and I think it was extremely honorable for him to get out there and talk about it. We're going to talk about Marvel, specifically Disney, really double downing on making Sony the platform of choice for their heroes. And obviously, you can tell by my shirt, I'm a huge MCU fan and a Marvel fan and a Marvel comic fan for years. And I think this is great news for PlayStation owners, and I'm one of them, so I'm excited. And bad news for Xbox owners. But then we're going to transition into some Senua Saga talk, and we have it on good authority that she may make a major appearance at this year's Game Awards. And I think that, when you talk about coming full circle in regards to, Senua Hellblade 2 being announced at the Game Awards in 2019, and then coming all the way back around to the Game Awards 2 years later to potentially have a big showing there. I think we might get it, and we're going to talk about who said that. But let's get into the introductions first. We'll start with our guests today, and we'll start first with Fuzzy Belvedere. Fuzzy, thank you so much for joining us. You recently reached out to me and said, "Hey, listen, Boom, I'm available for X, Y, and Z," and I took you up on your offer. Now, this is the second time. It's great to have you a part of today's show. We were having an absolutely astounding question a conversation, not question, that we're not going to bring forward into this podcast, that we are going to be talking about in depth on Monday's Primetime Gaming. I started writing that script, folks. I am telling you, it is going to be fire. But how you doing, man?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, and thank you so much for having me on here and with this great panel. Great to be with you guys, and awesome chat as always. Man, so much news going on, and I'm just glad to get to talk about it because this is one of my favorite hobbies. So thank you so much for having me on.
It's great to have you a part of the show. Thank you so much for that. Real quick, folks, I just kind of want to get it out there. A story just dropped on my favorite place to get news, videogameschronicles.com. If you are someone that is potentially having issues on acquiring an Xbox Series X and you have been hunting for one, it apparently is available today, right now, at GameStop through the Xbox All Access program. This story literally just dropped, and I'm just throwing it out there that you might be able to get your hands on an Xbox Series X through the All Access plan. I'm going to drop this link into the chat. Let me just do that right now, and just follow the story. If you follow the story, you will be able to potentially get a Series X and get it at a way where you're only paying monthly a couple of bucks as opposed to spending the $500 up front, which is great. Especially these times, money is very, very tight for a lot of families. and this is a great way to get involved in the Xbox family. Let's say, for instance, you're a PlayStation guy or gal, and you just can no longer sit on the sidelines and be like, "Wow, I just have to get involved in the conversation." And what better time than now, because Halo Infinite is coming, Forza is coming, and we still have a ton of games releasing this year. So there's the link. Go check it out. But let's get Mav in on the conversation. Mav, listen, I almost felt guilty asking you to join because, my God, you already do so much for your channel, but more importantly, you do so much for mine. Obviously, you are have been on numerous shows. Folks, if you didn't know, Mav is officially joining the Xbox Factor podcast on Tuesday, right along with Archimedes, aka Archie, aka Boxer Bear, aka a damn good community member. These are two members that are joining the ranks, and my goodness, do we have a panel of superstars. Welcome to the program, bro.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for asking. Dude, I'd never mind when you send me a message or said, "Hey, you got some free time?" Because if I got the time, boom, I am here.
And big shout out to your wife who's in the chat, Caitlin, darling. Thank you for always supporting your incredible husband. But thanks for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. We love you, and we definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, hi, baby. How's it going? Yeah, dude. I never mind when you send a message, because if I have the time, I'm going to do it, because I love talking with you about games. I think we have similar thought processes sometimes, and sometimes we don't agree, right?
Yes, which is great.
It's always a great conversation and a lot of fun here with Double Barrel Gaming and all of your shows. So, dude, I was super happy to be able to take the time to do this right now. So let's have some fun. Shout out to Fuzzy and BitCloud as awesome group here. So
yeah, absolutely. And speaking of BitCloud Gaming, this is a gentleman that live on this show about maybe 2 months ago hit 10,000 subs. And some people never heard of BitCloud. And if you haven't, well, now you have. Yesterday, he sat down with Agent 47 himself. I got a chance to watch that live as it was unfolding. And it was an incredible interview. The guy that plays Agent 47 seems like one of us. Like the way this is a guy that has been involved in a game that transcends decades. And he just seemed like one of the guys. It's pretty impressive. BitCloud, congratulations on a monster interview. But congratulations on knocking it out of the park. How the hell are you, dude?
I'm good, sir. You guys hear me loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
you're good. Yeah,
I'm good, man. It's yesterday was definitely eye-opening, and the funny thing is we are just starting. Got 2 more insane interviews lined up, so
nice.
It's gonna be fun as hell. But nice. Yeah, it was great to talk to a big part of my childhood growing up, and just seeing how much that role means to him is really inspiring, that he still plays it. And he actually dropped some news, guys, to those that are big Hitman fans. He dropped some news in that interview that might shock you. Definitely go check that out.
Yes, absolutely. And it was a great interview. I was able to get in there for a little bit and throw you my support, which is a well-deserved at that. But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I saw you geeking out in the chat. Yes, so you're over there geeking out in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, listen, look, here's the thing. We have small channels, right? We don't have 100,000 subs. Not yet, anyway. I honestly don't think I'll ever get that. I'm going to be honest. I'm a little high in the totem pole of age, and I don't know if I'm ever going to hit that. I'd be happy with just a 10K. I'm going to be honest with you. Once I hit 10K, if I fall off a cliff after that, I could say at least I got 10K subs. So I'm working. I'm working. Before we get into the topics, I see a lot of new faces here, which is pretty cool. I see a lot of OGs here that have been helping me build this empire of a channel for quite some time, and I want to thank everybody for that. But if you are in fact new and you are interested in potentially, just becoming a subscriber, it would be greatly appreciated. We keep these shows PG-13. We don't use hate. We battle against console war shenanigans. Every story that you will hear on my programs are extremely researched. I do more reading now as you know, as a podcaster than I've ever done in my entire life, because I always want to be informed, and I want to make sure that what I'm talking about not only makes sense but is obviously correct. So please consider subscribing. If you're already here, you're a fan, do me a favor. Hit the like button. I don't know. I don't understand the algorithms of YouTube. I don't think I ever will, but I know that if you hit the like button, it will help me, and that is awesome. But let's get into the first story. And again, folks, I'm always very interested to talk about topics that the average show doesn't talk about. And this is not a slight on anyone. And we all have our own styles of doing things. My style is I like talking about what's hot, but I like getting the nooks and crannies of my English muffin, right? And what I'm talking about is Christopher Judge. If that name does not mean anything to you, I hear you, but he is obviously a focal point of bringing the newly revised Kratos and God of War to the PlayStation 4 in 2018. Well, he openly, and this just happened 2 days ago, explains how it is his fault that God of War is delayed. And you say to yourself, well, how could it be his fault? Well, it turns out that he had a bunch of surgeries, 2 knee surgeries, a spine surgery, and I believe one on his shoulder. That is why he could not don the equipment to help Sony Santa Monica finish this game. And he explains how PlayStation has not only been incredibly understanding, but more importantly, ultra supportive. And I want to read some quotes from him. And folks, this is what I'm talking about. Listen, I get there are going to be people that could care less about this story. And if you are one of those folks, listen, I absolutely get it. But the console war, the on both sides, let me make that perfectly clear. It isn't just PlayStation that has assholes. Xbox has a ton of them too. Okay. And these 2 entities, which are a minority in size, but have the biggest voices, will make you think that the console war is black and white. It's one way or this way. That's it. And that is not, in fact, the truth. The truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, people are important. People matter. People, i.e., everyone here listening to this show, keep the conversation going. And people like Christopher Judge help make these incredible experiences that are lasting. There are some people. Look, I want to just to kind of put a hard pause on this. Mr. Badbit, who unfortunately left the show because he's put on the big boy pants, and now he has a career, and I could not be more proud of that young man. He's like a younger brother for me. And we talk all the time outside of podcasting.
He's got a bright future in podcasting.
Oh, he's ridiculously future. His future is another one like 3-bit is just, it's blinding. I got to put on shades for these kids because they have his genuine approach to being an incredible human being is only one of the things that highlights him and why I'm such a fan of him and why I help him try to push his channel. He was just on the IGN version of Unlocked, which is the PlayStation version. That's a big deal for him. But what I'm trying to get to, and I'm sorry for being long-winded, Miles Morales is obviously a character that means a lot for a lot of people. But for Joe specifically, it is a character, and Into the Spider-Verse is a film that took him out of a very, very dark place. And I'm not kind of like pulling the covers back and throwing this out there. He has talked about this publicly, which is why I'm comfortable talking about this. But it was that particular character and that particular film that made him realize that there was more, right? Well, regardless of whether you're a fan of Christopher Judge or in Kratos and what he has done for that franchise, he potentially means a significant amount to someone. Someone is going to think Christopher Judge helped them change their life. And that is why I have to talk about this story, because it is the human element is lost in the console war shit, which makes me sick. And as nasty as this world currently is, and it sucks right now for a lot of people, it's these stories that give me hope. And I'm going to read you what Christopher Judge had to say regarding the delay situation. And he says this: I need to be forthcoming. This has been approved by no one. To the beloved fandom, Ragnarok was delayed because of me. August 2019, I couldn't walk. I had to have back surgery, both hips replaced, and knee surgery. I thought it was his elbow. Turns out it was his hips. Sorry for the mistake. They waited for me to rehab. No threats. No, who do you think you are? Nothing but love and support. And Sony Santa Monica has never said a word about the delay and what caused it. Studios are assholes, but this company from top to bottom should give us hope. What they did for what they did for the crew is way more than I can't talk about. But I've said to all involved, it is the classiest thing I have ever heard about in the business. Everyone involved in God of War, in the God of War franchise, puts their hearts and souls into every frame you see. Closing out that statement, I want to thank everyone that has allowed me to play and laugh and love and cry without judgment. But this is unconditional support and love in this thing of all of ours. Holy shit, folks. If that doesn't move you, you better check your pulse. You're probably dead. I want to go first to our PlayStation representative. I should just call him the platinum card holder. And of course, I'm talking about BitCloud because, quite frankly, he has a ridiculous amount of platinums. When you hear Christopher Judge pull the covers back, take on the entire responsibility for the delay of God of War Ragnarok, what does that say about his character? And more so, what does that say about the character of Sony Santa Monica saying nothing to him about having to wait for him to rehab? Let's talk about it.
So when I look at that, I look back at the interview that I did with one of the developers from Housemark. And I asked him this similar question. I asked him, would he ever go to another studio if he ever had the chance? And he literally told me flat out on the show, he's like, no, I never want to consider going because Housemark's morale is so high. When I hear this, just gives me the same vibes that I got from that interview, that the morale over there at Sony Santa Monica is extremely high and they do value their employees and their time. So the fact that he was willing to take that type of heat, again, mind you, he said they did so much for him, but the fact that he was willing to take that type of heat just shows that there's a lot of there's a lot going on back there that that he just loves. The actual support that he gets from the developers is something that we should all take into consideration. Now, the fact that he was sick, that he was injured, and they pretty much delayed the whole thing for him. Again, it just shows the respect and how much love they have for him and what he's given to the role of Kratos. I'm all for it, man. That type of stuff goes a long way. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, loyalty and just positive vibes towards anybody when you're in a working relationship, it really can lead to a lot more and elevate just so many more things. So yeah, it was cool to see that. And he made a good point. He absolutely made a good point that it could have been completely something different. It could have been a negative thing, like, who are you? Like, who you think you are? And we could have been looking at an Activision 2.0 type of thing or even worse, if that was the case, where Lost was like, oh, we were scheduled. This is you're conflicting with our scheduled release, something like that. No.
Yes.
And that
listen, a lot of people sometimes forget that in between the lines, this is a business, right? Like it's a straight up, big shout out to If Dot. or if that. I think that's how you pronounce it. He drops an outstanding $20 super chat, and that is dope. And I mean, again, the generosity, folks, I cannot thank you enough. But it's what he says that makes me, it's goosebumps. I get goosebumps because I love helping people. I did in uniform, and I love doing it out of uniform. And he says this, holy crack, Boom, I got my Series X coming in the mail. Thank you so much, dude. Congratulations. Welcome to the family. And I know it's just, listen, whether it's a PS5 or a Series X and S, those damn consoles are still so hard to find, and everyone's laughing. Listen, folks, I specifically shot off the tires to kind of show the physics. I was driving around with no tires, GTA style. It was pretty dope. But yeah, congratulations on that, brother. I will start. Once I get everyone talking, I will say hello in the chat to everyone that individually, like I do it. It's just my thing. But yeah, great point, Big Cloud. I agree with you. I think we sometimes forget the human element, that we just want what we want when we want it. And is it terrible? I think that's kind of human nature, but I think it really does put a conversation in a different light when you hear stories like this. And I'm happy that PlayStation, specifically Sony Santa Monica, stepped up in a big way to, of course, do the right thing by the lead actor.
I've interviewed a VFX artist from Sony Santa Monica, and her enthusiasm, her love for it, she says it all the time, that it's one of the best working environments that she's ever had personally. So when I heard that from her, I mean, no wonder why you're getting these these insane quality games. There's no hiccups. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's loving what they're doing. And when you have that type of environment where people want to work and they're happy to work, guess what? You can get an even better product in the long run. There's not going to be no added pressure. So hearing Christopher say that again, it goes right back to that conversation. Positive vibes help.
Yeah. No. Well, obviously positive work environment produces magic. Right. That's what we know. If everyone is happy, if everyone is enjoying themselves, work really isn't work. Like when I do these shows, I don't consider it to be work. I'm just hanging out. I'm having an amazing time with the community, and I somehow garnered an audience.
Imagine if we took the positive community that you have right out of the equation, and you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. Are you going to have the same enthusiasm to want to start this show? Are you going to want to jump on and do 3 shows a week? Absolutely not, right? It's going to become a what, Boom? A chore.
Yes, my father always said that. He said, "Son, if you could find a job that you loved going to, then it's not really a job." That's how it was for me as a police officer. Like, the simple story for me is, I was always a community kid. Like, I did the garden in front of my building. I did the tenant patrol. I did all this, this nerdy, stupid shit that no one cared about, right? But it was my character. For me, playing with G.I. Joes. I got my first pair of G.I. Joes in '82. I got Stalker and Bazooka. And someone had stolen the Vamp driver, Clutch. So I wound up getting the vehicle, no driver. So I wound up taking Stalker instead. And from that time forward, at 12, I loved what G.I. Joe stood for. And I said, I didn't want to go into the military, even though I wound up going into the military for a little bit in, the Navy during Desert Storm. But I always wanted to be a police officer because of my local beat cop. His name is Sterling. And I ran into him even after many years being a police officer. And it was because of him and G.I. Joe that I did what I wanted to do and become a cop. And I was able to help so many people. It just was magical. So to your point, yeah, if you are doing something that you love, it's not a chore. You want to do that every day because you love what you're doing. And for Chris Judge and for everyone at that studio that have been making, pretty much incredible experiences for many, many years, they've really knocked it out of the park with God of War 2018, and Ragnarok is expected to be as good, potentially better. But listen, let me get Fuzzy Belvedere's opinion on this, and then Mav will bring you in on the final point of the conversation. When you hear what Chris Judge had to say, where do you fall in your respect of Sony proper, specifically Sony Santa Monica?
Oh, it's way up there. I mean, as you guys have stated, it is a business, and time is money, and delays cost money, and a lot of times the bean counters in the background are going to be like, hey, chop chop, let's get this out here. We need to get, meet these deadlines, get this out in the public, get, certain revenue return and so forth. The fact that they took the human element and supported their main character, or their main actor, in Christopher Judge, during what, anytime you go through any type of surgery, it's definitely an ordeal. Through that tough time, is commendable. They deserve the applause, or the praise, for being able to take a step back with human eyes, look at the situation, and realize the most important thing is going to be Christopher Judge's health. Make sure he's okay, because if you were to try to like rush things, like after someone's had surgery, it's probably going to translate in the
potentially an injury and re-injuring the said parts. And he didn't have like, hey, I had a knee surgery, I got to take 6 months off. He had a spine surgery, 2 hip surgeries, and a knee surgery. Holy shit.
Basically, he's like the $6 million man at
Pretty
this
much.
Point. But yeah, after going through something like that, you don't want to rush, an artistic creation, or any artistic, talents, and forcing, a portrayal that may not reflect as positively as you would hope. And the fact that they took the time, gave him time to recover, kept, I guess, in all honesty, checking on him to make sure, he's okay, and having, not general, but actual concern or care for him is unbelievable. I mean, there are businesses that do that. I've gone through a similar situation with my former employer, where I did have a tibia tear, and I was pretty much inactive for my normal position for quite some time, and they were able to work with me, and that was, at being there 20 years. I mean, it's not expected or required, but that really meant a lot to me. It showed, that family orientation that company had, and how much they valued me, and how much I valued them over the years as an employer. So I want to give Christopher Judge the praise and respect, as far as for his courage in coming forward with that. He didn't have to share any of this with us, and it's tough sometimes sharing personal information and things like that, but to go out
that's
there
really inside the line stuff, dude. Like that is
Yeah.
straight up. I mean, again, he put the whole delay on his shoulders. That's wow. That's saying something.
And for Sony Santa Monica to be there for him, be in his corner, that's awesome in itself as well. And it's good to see stories like this. I mean, we hear so much about things like crunch, or misbehaving, or just bad behavior in some studios and corporations and things. It's good to have a positive story that ultimately will have an even better outcome, probably, than what the previous game had for 2018, with a group of devs that are passionate about their work, and care for not just the work itself, but all the people involved. That's commendable all in itself.
Yeah, 100%. Great stuff. Listen, Matt, before I get in, let me do a couple shout outs over here. JCon79 says, does anyone need a friend code to get into the Halo tech preview? Well, first of all, JCon, thanks for being here, and thanks for offering that. I don't know if you're on Twitter, but if somebody wants to reach out to JCon and you didn't get an invite, hit him up, because he has a tech preview code that he's willing to share. Real quick, Gary Duddle, generous friend of the show, he says, Game in the UK have dropped a lot of Series X and PlayStation 5s this week. Follow their main account and your local store account on Twitter to get an update when they go on sale. And of course, he's talking about Game. It's kind of like their version of GameStop in the UK. Game is very, very big. So thanks for that info, Gary. And real quick, Pointless Views says something really nice I want to read. It says, Boom, I recently watched your podcast with Miles on his channel. Of course, he's talking about Miles Dompierre, friend of this program, incredible writer and video producer over at Windows Central Gaming. I was a guest a couple of weeks ago, and he says it was one of my favorites on his channel. Thanks, dude, for the compliment. I had a blast. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. And the artist that did my caricature even put my beard, which is crazy. But thank you so much for that. Mav, let's get your opinion on this, brother. This is an interesting topic because it really does have a huge human element. What are your thoughts?
Well, exactly that human element, right? I think a lot of people, they forget. Hey, it's not machines that make games; it's actually people, right? And people have everyday problems and go through things just like all of us do, right? And when all of the angry mob goes out and sends hateful messages to these developers and death threats and all of these insanely idiotic things,
Indeed.
then you forget sometimes, hey, maybe there's a potentially real human reason why these things happen, right? As such as potentially the health of somebody that is much beloved by the fandom of said franchise in the first place, right? So it is super honorable for him to go out there and just put it out there and let everybody know. And I also want to say he didn't have to, right?
Yes,
He
that's
should
a great point.
he shouldn't
Great
have, he
point.
shouldn't have to, and I don't think he did have to, but it was very honorable for him to do that and just put it out there like, hey, this is why, just to give everybody like let it's almost like he's trying to say, hey, ease up off of these devs, right? Like this is the reason, like if you want to blame somebody, blame it on me is what he's doing. And he but in doing so, he's making people realize that this is not a big deal. There's more important things in life than whether a game comes out in 2020, 2021, or 2022, right? It also shows the commitment and level of respect that the studio has for him and what he brings to the character.
Yeah.
Because it would be super easy for a studio to be like, "Hey, you know what? Like, we can't wait. I'm sorry," and that goes into Sony because you would think Sony, funding this game could have some kind of say so in whether to allow such a delay to be had or not based on such a different element, right?
Yes.
But one of the voice actors not being able to portray the role, but I think they see the respect for him and what he brought to God of War, which was recently voted according to IGN. Whether you agree with it or not, still it it won best video game of all time or whatever, right? And part of the reason why so many people love it is because of his portrayal as the character, right? When you listen and you boot up the game instantly, and there was a different Kratos before, right? This was his first time, I believe, playing Kratos
Yes.
in a
Yeah.
video game. I think it was before it was like TC Carson, I think, or something. But when he stepped into that role, instantly it's like, wow,
Well, the first
this is
time you heard
iconic, right?
"boy,"
Yeah.
come on. I mean,
In the direction of deer, boy. It's like, oh my gosh, hey, like like this is amazing. He's actually nailing this character like 100%. And for them to have like went in another direction, I believe wouldn't have had the same impact for the game. It's a continuation of the story, and it's showing their dedication to bringing the best story forward. In fact, he even went on to say about how Corey Barlog actually talked him into staying in the role when he found out that he wasn't going to be the director of the game. Instead, it was going to be, I think, it was Eric Williams, right? And that he put his he talked him to and said, "Hey, this guy's great," blah blah blah, and now he's coming out there and saying, "Hey, yeah, he was right. Eric Williams is great," right? So, all of these things not only give you faith in the fact that hey, these studios actually do care about what they're putting forward. It shows you that they actually care about each other and the
Yes.
people that are making these games. And hey, just sometimes when a game is delayed, maybe sometimes it's for the betterment of the game. Is maybe there's more things going on behind the scenes. And props to him for just putting that to light, just to kind of humanize everything for people at times, right? I think that's very noble and a good thing what he did because it's nice to read. Like Fuzzy said, when you see so much stuff out there about toxic work environments, good stuff going on with Activision and Ubisoft the last couple years, right? So, a lot of these horrible things, and then you see a story like this of like, hey, this is like the opposite. I want more stories like this to come out, right? And unfortunately, the only way a story like this comes out is if somebody puts up their health information, right,
Yep.
publicly,
Yeah.
right? Like there should be more writers like Jason Schreier out there, people like that writing positive stories as well about the gaming industry and looking for some of those stories as well to tell, as opposed to just hunting for heads a lot of time, right? And then trying to bring out the negative to try and um, uh, flesh stuff out. Like, hey, let's flesh out some positives as well. So this was very great to see, and I'm glad that he posted it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And again, it's listen, whether you like Jason Schreier or you don't, and I don't, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not a fan of him at all. There's a reason why he had me blocked. I'm not the only one, so I'm not really offended. To be honest, it's just I don't like him as a person. I think he's terrible. But I'm not going to get into that. What I'm going to say is that for every 15 or 20 stories that he writes, I'd love to see more of this kind of story where he's not highlighting the terrible things about a company, but some of the good things. And to your point, folks, listen. I don't know if God of War was coming out in 2021. Now, Sony announced that, and we all said, Lion Ryan, right? Like BS, selling hope when it's not really there. Maybe it was supposed to come out this year. And now, obviously, because of the unbelievable amount of surgeries that Chris Judge had to do, they couldn't get it done. Well, think about this for a second. We already praised Sony Santa Monica. We've already praised Chris Judge. But let's look at SIE proper. They don't have a game this fall. They don't. The only game that they have is Kena, right? Which is great. If you haven't played it, you probably should play. It's pretty good if you're like old school 90s action RPG platformers, because I'm actually quite enjoying it. And Deathloop, which is a Microsoft published game. They don't have a banger. They don't have their own banger. This could have potentially been that banger to go up against Halo. And they had to take the knee, right? They could have gotten someone that sounded like Christopher Judge, right? To step in. Hey, listen, we're going to pay you what we owe you. Sorry that you got hurt, but it's business. And they didn't do that. And that's that. I mean, again, for as many things as Sony has done wrong, this is one of those instances that you got to tip the cap. I'm sorry, even if you're a hater of even if you don't like PlayStation, you got to tip the cap, folks, because this is a big deal. But I want to move on to another Sony topic, one that I think is going to have a lot of legs on today's podcast. For me specifically, because I was a little taken aback, not surprised, but a little taken aback by. Before I do, some of these super chats have been crazy. Alex is a Valve. Drops an outstanding £7 super chat. I believe that's what it is. He said, I had open heart surgery at 19. Holy shit, dude. He says, and it was tough, but I'm here now. It's all about taking your time and not rushing to get better. Well, dude, I'm glad you're here now. And thank you for the generosity. But of course, thank you for sharing, your personal surgery information. That's wow, 19 years old. That is tough, dude. Drawn TJ has completely blown the lid off super chats for me personally because he drops a $100 super chat. That is, I think it's too much. I don't think I'm deserving of it, but thank you very much, Drawn TJ. He says, I cannot wait to play Halo Infinite after work. Love you guys. And yeah, Sony does deserve love for that indeed. And thank you for the ridiculous generosity. Danny Passion Official. Hey, Danny, thanks for being here. He drops a $2 super chat and said, this is why I love your shows, the human touch. Yeah, I think it's super important. I like being a little like kind of drawing outside the lines when I do my shows. But let's get into topic number 2, folks. And topic number 2 is going to bring us into a story that comes to us from Video Games Chronicles. But it's not that. I mean, that's where I pulled the story from. But I got a chance to listen to this week's Xbox Era podcast, and obviously that is run by John and Special Nick. Now, it was a great show. If you enjoy Xbox content, I would definitely love to say get over and support Xbox Era, both on Twitter and on YouTube. We've had One Bad Mother, who was on last week. He is a writer, one of their writers. He's a superb writer and a podcaster. Occasionally he jumps on with Nick and John. And during the conversation in which they have their rumor mill section, he was going to pretty much let the cat out of the bag regarding a Sony and Marvel exclusivity deal, but he had to kind of pull some of it back, right? And he was able to talk about it, but he said it may sound out of context because there was some pieces of the information that he could not disclose, which is fine. But what he was talking about was someone had that one of his connections, and he has quite a few of them within the industry, had reached out to him and specifically said that they have heard, again, folks, rumor. So it's not, please don't put me in a magazine that says Boom said it's coming out. It's a rumor. And it's not a surprising rumor, to be honest with you. After Miles Morales and Spider-Man, and then the really shocking Wolverine game. I mean, does this surprise anyone? Well, it doesn't really surprise me. But apparently, Marvel, i.e. Disney, and Sony are really gearing up to build their own MCU in the PlayStation verse. And of course, many people on both sides of the aisle have been clamoring for Sony to make more multiplayer games. Well, according to Special Nick of Xbox Era, there is a potential collaboration coming from Marvel and Sony to bring to the PlayStation 5 as an exclusive a multiplayer Marvel game. Now, this is a big deal, folks. I don't think it is going to be an MMO. It is rumored to be developed, again, rumored to be developed by Insomniac Games. Doesn't surprise me. They already have the pedigree. They did Spider-Man 2018, which was a masterpiece. Miles Morales, for me, hit really, really hard because just the opening. I talked about this before. I come from a very heavy Hispanic background. You can't really tell, right? And I don't speak Spanish, which is, I blame my parents for that. But the opening scene in Miles Morales with his family is, dude, I'm not even going to front. Like, I can't even, I have a hard time talking about it because I'm going to start getting choked up. I'm going to start to cry. Reminded me personally of how it was with my Wella back in the days on Christmas Eve. And man, they really, really directed that 10 or 15 minute scene. Incredible. So they have the talent to bring us a multiplayer Marvel game. And look, I'm a PlayStation 5 supporter. Like, if it comes and look, I'll say this: if Xbox never gets another Marvel character in the history, I'm still gonna die on this hill and still feel a type of way, because I would love to play a Marvel exclusive on Xbox. That's it. I said it, and that's how I feel. But if they do bring this to fruition, if this turns out to be a thing, now again, if anything, it's probably an extremely, very, very, very pre-production. We have heard that Insomniac is hiring now to make the Spider-Man 2 a Wolverine game and potentially a multiplayer Marvel game. They're going to have to really hire, and you'll start to see this will start to come to fruition once you start seeing the LinkedIn posts that everyone's posting. Oh, they're looking for this, they're looking for that, looking for this. I want to go first. I'm going to go back in reverse order. I'll start with Mav on this one. Mav, look, you're a big Marvel guy. I mean, for crying out loud, you have a pop culture show each and every week to talk about. And quite frankly, Marvel, I mean, did anyone see What If? Holy crap. What probably the best episode of the entire season.
Definitely better than the Thor one.
The Thor one was
that hit a little different.
The weakest link. Let's just say that it wasn't the best one. I mean, listen, it is what it is. But this one really, really hit. Let me ask you, Mav, as a multi-plat gamer, someone that loves games on both platforms, if Insomniac and Sony were to announce, more specifically Marvel, that they were building their own MCU within the PlayStation universe, and their next game or one of their next games was going to be a multiplayer Marvel game that could potentially bring, I don't want to use the D word, but I'm going to have to do it, a Destiny style where you can do these big raids that you're taking on, the scrolls, and you have to get in there and kill the scroll queen, or whatever. It would be it would do a checkbox to something that a lot of people claim Sony does not have a good hold on, and that's multiplayer. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'd love to see it. For one reason, I would love to see more multiplayer games from Sony.
Yeah.
Right. It just period. Whether it's Marvel or not, I think it's something that would be great to see. I'm not saying they don't have multiplayer games, but most of their exclusives are very single player focused. Right. So if you did have a big exclusive come out that was very multiplayer focused game, I think it could be good for the community as well, for Sony and PlayStation. But also tying it behind Marvel is a great way to entice people to play, right? Because you get the Marvel license, and if you do it right, which I think one thing with Sony right now is I have complete faith and trust in them doing Marvel right? So whatever this is, I think could be absolutely excellent, because their execution of the characters has been on point so far. Even going into even just the little trailer for Wolverine, right? I was like, I knew once it opened up into a bar and I saw bodies lying everywhere on the ground.
I kind of knew right then and there it had to be Logan. I really did.
There at the bar with the cowboy hat on, I was like, oh, that's Wolverine. I was like, I said it. It was like a live reaction stream. I'm like, that's Wolverine. This is freaking Wolverine. I was getting excited. It's like, oh my gosh, are they making a freaking Wolverine game? That's the joy I get with this Marvel stuff, man. And I always have these things, like when we talk about stuff on some of our shows, like, hey, what is like one of your dream games? Like, what's a dream game? And I come up with all these different thoughts about potential dream games. Now we're getting some awesome superhero Marvel games, not Marvel, but some multiplayer superhero games, like Gotham Knights. I think has a lot of potential, right? The Suicide Squad, I think, is that co-op. I don't know if they announced 100% if that's co-op or not.
I don't think they actually really talked about it. It might.
Yeah,
be.
We just saw the trailer for it. Now it's up.
Yeah. But I would hope so. I mean, being that it's like a squad, right? But you got Suicide Squad, but we know Gotham Knights. So there's stuff coming, but Sony hits different with this stuff, man. So, dude, I would love to see it. Now the question is, what would it be, right? Like,
Personally, I'd be happy when we see Black Panther in PlayStation Studios. That when that happens,
And
that's
that could happen. That
that's
that
an-
could.
It could, dude. It could. I personally like. I would love that. I want X-Men.
yeah.
If they dove deep into the X-Men license and just put out something revolving around the X-Men universe,
Sign me
multiplayer
up, please,
focused,
and please have a
dude.
collector's edition.
Here's the wild part. If y'all remember the trailer, they hinted at the Hulk with the comic book
Yes,
reference.
they did,
Plus,
Dude.
yeah.
Dude, listen.
If that game goes the way
He
we
is going
think
to
it's
be in the
going to be,
game.
yeah,
he's going to be in the game.
if that game goes the way we think it is, where you're playing as Logan, and let's say you just like you can visit the manor, and the X-Men are introduced to this, just do just Wolverine's game by itself.
It's not going to be just Wolverine. I can
Yeah.
tell you that
Yeah.
right now.
Well, if you look at the on the wall, you're referring to the license plate. I think it's like 181 HLK.
Yeah,
Yeah.
HLK
Which is
181. Yeah,
If you look at the issue, which is the first issue where Wolverine made an appearance, was like in Hulk issue 181 or something like that. Because
yeah,
I
no,
looked it up
that's
'cause
correct.
I saw that and I was like, wait, what does that mean? So I started Googling, and oh my gosh, like the potential's there. I want to see it. Now, do I also want to see some stuff from Xbox, like you said before? Yes, I think that obviously, unless Marvel did sign some exclusivity deal to keep it away from other first party platforms, it seems like the licensing is up for grabs because Take-Two's making a Marvel game, right? With Midnight Suns. We have Wolverine. We have Spider-Man again, right? Which I guess Sony has more of a say so in that. I would imagine, but also
Yeah.
you have the Nintendo published Ultimate Alliance, right?
Yes. Mhm.
You have all these mobile games that come out all over the place and stuff, right? So I think there's room there. The Xbox could do something if they wanted to. It's just they don't seem super high on licensed games and IP. And maybe it's because they're just letting their devs pick what they want to work on. The thing is, I think like Insomniac really loves working on this stuff, right?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, BitCloud. If I understand the story correctly, so SIE proper went to Insomniac Games and said, "What superhero game do you want to make?"
Mhm.
And if I'm incorrect, they said, "We're allowed to make a superhero game. We want to do Spider-Man." That is how the conversation. I mean, again, I'm sure it went down like that, like they were writing their
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
taxes
more
back to
detailed.
paper. Of
Yeah,
course,
they
but-
probably went through all this, all the statistics, like profitability. But yeah, more likely, if you want to put it in layman's terms, they pretty much said, out of all the superheroes, we want to play, we want to do Spider-Man's universe, and they did that,
There you
and
go.
that's led to Wolverine. Wolverine's more likely gonna lead to more X-Men, and then you're gonna see the Crossroads type of thing where they bridge these two together and have an Avengers-like team up.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
when
I
they
just
do
want
that, that's a big thing.
Just give me Gambit. Hey, dude,
Dude,
I
you
can
know what's
imagine-
happening. Yeah, you know what's happening.
I want. Can I put out this real
Yeah.
quick? Because I've said this before. I want Sucker Punch to make a Gambit game.
Oh,
I'm
That's
just
kind of
saying.
dope. Yeah, I like
I
Sucker
want
Punch.
it.
Sucker Punch got some great. They know how to do the particle effects. I ain't gonna lie, man. Especially
Yeah,
looking at
particle
Infamous Second
effect.
Son.
Yeah, the
Yes,
DLC
dude.
was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look at that world. Replace it with freaking Gambit. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I get chills, dude. Let's go. Come on, Sucker Punch.
Unless they have like other developers, like that'd be another cool thing. They have like more of their first party collaborate and do their own styles. Like that way, they can have their own different, unique
Guerrilla?
perspectives on the world. Yeah, and then they can merge them together if they wanted to for a bigger game.
Could you imagine Insomniac and Guerrilla Games working together? Because Guerrilla Games has
Oh,
a little bit more of that multiplayer background, right?
Yeah.
And Insomniac has that like very they nailed the superhero aspect like perfectly, right? So
Mhm.
you get some kind of collaboration between some of these studios to be absolutely awesome to see, and that's something I like seeing with when I think of potential of like Xbox and Sony. I want to see more collaboration between studios and stuff like that because I think there's so much potential there that could be fleshed out. Now I know like Coalition helps with free and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? But I mean just the core implementation of a game design, like come up with something brand new I could imagine an id making a Halo game, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I would love to see Insomniac work with one of the other Sony studios to come up with something just absolutely
I
It,
agree.
it definitely would be. I mean, listen. I think that they're quietly building their own MCU. I think that
Oh, yeah.
that what Marvel probably looks at, and again, we've talked about this numerous times. How we all think that the Spider-Man sharing agreement might have a huge part into Marvel properties staying on Sony, on PlayStation specifically. Again, I'm not a
Yeah.
businessman, but if I
The
were to take a
movies.
stab at it, it seems like that's something that would be worked into the deal, because obviously Spider-Man is super important to Feige, and he's a big part of what they're doing moving forward with the Spider-Verse. Obviously Venom, the post-credit scene. I didn't see Venom 2, but it's been online. But I don't know. It's who better to make it. That's just my point. Let me get Cloud, I'll get you on the back end. Let me get Fuzzy's opinion on this. Fuzzy,
Mhm.
a Marvel produced title by Sony is a big W.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
done 2 so far, highly reviewed, highly revered. Spider-Man 2 officially announced, Wolverine announced. This gets now. This is a rumor, but it again, when you think about what does Sony need to be I mean, listen, look, there are 2 conversations that come up for it seems to be like a running theme both for Xbox and Sony. Xbox didn't have games, right? That narrative is dead.
Yeah.
One of the biggest narratives that still remains for Sony, and they haven't addressed it, is Sony doesn't have any multiplayer games. This would
Yeah.
be a way to address it, and in my opinion, address it in a big way. What are your thoughts on the rumor of a multiplayer Marvel game coming at the hands of Insomniac?
I can totally see it being a
Yep.
possibility. It makes perfect sense. I mean, considering the popularity of the Spider-Man and Miles Morales games that they had, and the buzz around Wolverine, to further push that with a multiplayer type universe where that's kind of like their weakest link. If you want to say Sony has a weak link, they've relied more so on the third parties for the multiplayer. Like, they've had player games, but they don't either have the staying power or as much of a draw as some of the either third party or some of the multiplayer that you'll find on like the Xbox platform. Right now, a lot of people are anxiously waiting for factions, and they didn't really get that much of a update on the 2-year anniversary.
Oh, that's another story. Oof.
Yeah, but all things aside, this would, I'm pretty sure, other than the most dedicated of fans, this would pretty much erase everybody's memory on the wait for factions if they announce anything Marvel related as far as a multiplayer game on their platform. That I don't say it would be like, well, it's beyond a mic drop moment, but it would definitely be a big, huge marketing and just beyond a W at that point. Because as much as people like Spider-Man, as much as people like Wolverine, if they can incorporate a lot more characters from Marvel into a game where you can pick whatever character you want to be and go through, like you said earlier, like a Destiny style, universe where, all right, you're teaming up with 3 or 4 or maybe 5 of your buddies to go on like a raid or to stop um, like some sort of like
It
enemy
would be
takeover of, the,
epic.
of New York City or
Oh my
anywhere else
god.
in the world, type of thing. That would be huge. And
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, I hope that they're doing that. Yes, I mainly prefer Xbox as far as a platform, but I will sink a ton of time into a Marvel game on PlayStation if they do a multiplayer game. And all right, this week I'm going to be Spider-Man, or next week I'm going to be the Hulk or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and Insomniac, I know people probably say this quite often. They're just wizards right now. They're pumping out quality stuff in I won't say record time, but pretty darn near close to it. So them working on it, considering how they perfected the mechanics with the 2018 Spider-Man and Miles Morales, and real curious to see how they iterate on that with Wolverine, doing a multiplayer game that I think would be a coup de grace type of thing. And yeah, that I would definitely be looking forward to something like that if true. But where there's smoke there's fire, and this seems quite feasible.
Yeah, 100%. You know what? Let's get Big Cloud in the conversation now. Big Cloud, as a PlayStation representative, one of the biggest running criticisms, I suppose you could say, has been their lack of oomph in the multiplayer department, specifically in first party. This is a game that is probably way out there. To Mav's point, this is a game that I can see multiple studios within SIE getting on board to help Insomniac build, because it's going to be a massive undertaking. If there's anyone that could pull off such a thing, it is, in my opinion, Insomniac Games. Where do you personally fall in regards to your excitement on whether or not this actually has legs?
Oh, dude, personally, after seeing the track record and seeing what they're doing with the MCU, personally, there's a lot to go off of, and you can definitely put a lot on the table here. The way the first one sold, the 2018 version sold, and then you factor in the PS5 version with Miles, it's really a no-brainer of when this is going to happen. We just waiting on the reveal. I already told people, like I said to you guys before, like 2023, we're not gonna see next gen until 2023, pretty much. That's why we're in cross-gen right now. So it just makes sense that this will be down the pipeline. Obviously, we got Wolverine that was revealed. We got Spider-Man 2, which is 2023. There's so much stuff they're building into. And the crazy thing is, too, this whole MCU theory that I have, too, along with a lot of other people like Matt, he brought up, too. Sony and Marvel know, especially, that they can't rely on other companies like Square Enix to do it justice and make it really what it needs to be. If that makes sense. Square Enix just has a different vision versus what the real story-driven experience, which is what a lot of people go to superheroes, games for. I mean,
do you
obviously,
think they're gonna go to Square again?
No.
Or allow them after Guardians looks the way it does and Avengers? Yeah, those
I
are
think
huge
that's
IPs that they gave to Square, right?
That's a good question. And the thing is, that will ultimately come down to how they perform in the sales category. If the games don't sell up to par, then make no mistake about it, they'll hit up Sony and be like, hey, about that. What you need for Insomniac? I wouldn't mind seeing you guys make a Guardians of the Galaxy. I wouldn't mind if you guys made a Blade game. You see what I'm saying? I can see them throwing those IPs at Sucker Punch, or not Sucker Punch, but Insomniac. And the thing is, Sony's already out here expanding these studios. Like, they purchased Firesprite, but they also bought another subsidiary company, which was called Fabric Games, to add on top.
They're out of
that.
the UK. They're small. Yeah.
No. They're adding more talent to each particular studio. So make no mistake about it. I can see, Insomniac Games being branched out even more, like, getting more devs on board. The same thing can be said about Naughty Dog. These are their top tier studios. Really, I would say that Insomniac's probably the most consistent / best studio that they have at their disposal. Naughty Dog will come in at second for me personally. Yeah. And Sony Santa Monica will be third. But just to be back on the topic here again, when we go back to Wolverine and his reveal and the potential that can lead up to, I mean, we keep talking about crazy things they can do. I mean, again, as soon as we see mature rated, you already know there's so many things they can do, such as, if you guys go back to the Dead Space reveal, the remake reveal, remember how you can shoot off flesh and like see bone? Imagine that type of stuff, everybody in the chat, in reverse. Like, you take damage, you lose bits and pieces of flesh and all that, and he regenerates.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that will be more immersive for a lot of people, especially if we're talking about a studio like Insomniac Games. Insomniac is no stranger to a great story, and you give them the opportunity to make a mature rated superhero game. God forbid what that's going to lead to. That's going to be some even more crazier stuff. Like, I would love to see them do Punisher,
or even Deadpool,
or Black Panther.
Yeah.
There's so many characters that Marvel has at their disposal that Insomniac Games can put a crazy spin on and give you some quality entertainment for. And that's the beauty behind it. As far as like multiplayer, the multiplayer project that we're hearing about, I'm just gonna go out on the limb here. Again, I don't have any info on this, right? But I would say if I would want a multiplayer game, I wouldn't mind a Blade game with a horde mode with your friends.
Yeah, would
that would be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind a Punisher game, battle royale, or not battle royale, but like a battle like how do I explain this? It's a Punisher game, but you're taking out like thugs. Like, you guys would be thugs. One person gets to be the Punisher type of thing, and you just got to take out that'd be cool. Like, there's so many characters that could benefit from this. Like, it's only a matter of time before, at this point, especially because I don't see what's going on with DC. How long is it going to be till DC decides to hit up Sony for a project? Spawn.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys seen how Spawn looked in Mortal Kombat and with Malbosia. Y'all remember that trailer?
Yeah.
And in the ending, why don't we have that in game form? I keep saying this for Microsoft. Microsoft, again, a lot of people disagree with me when I said Microsoft would definitely need a superhero game of some sort.
I remember you tweeting about that. I said it, and I still, like I said, I will die on this hill.
Yeah.
I got a lot of pushback from a lot of people in the community. Oh, we don't want them to be Sony. No one's asking them.
We're asking for
Sony.
an equivalent. We're asking for your own version. So you can be in the conversation.
Yes.
Sony can be Marvel. Exactly. Sony can be Marvel. Y'all can be DC. Y'all can have your own world. You don't have to be part of Marvel. You have your own, but you'll be in the conversation. Superhero.
Yeah.
And what superhero would put a spin on Xbox? Spawn.
Yeah.
That will put a spin on Xbox, especially when you got.
They have a connection to the character, because if you guys remember back in the days in Soul Calibur, right? Microsoft's special character was Spawn. Nintendo's was Link, and Sony's was, I believe, the dude from Tekken was the character. So they have a connection with the Spawn character. He was an exclusive character way back in the days in the Xbox 360, but there's still a connection with the Spawn character. I don't know. I mean, listen,
people want them. People want them.
People want superheroes. Superheroes hot right now. The Marvel IP is the hottest brand going. Whether you agree or you disagree, everything is Marvel. DC has some things going. Obviously, we're gonna have Suicide Squad Kill Justice League is coming. We obviously have the Bat Family with the Court of Owls, which is dope. I cannot wait to play that game. I hope we can play it next year, because obviously delays have been the thing. I cannot wait to play that. But I'll throw this out there. And again, I want to move on to the next topic. But when you say multiplayer game, I know that we right away think like this multiplayer. You're fighting each other. Some people's the Skrulls, the other people the X-Men, whatever. But when I thought about multiplayer, and I thought, well, if Insomniac is going to do it, how could they do multiplayer but still put their spin on story? You know what I'd love to see? A Multiplayer Fantastic Four reboot. Bring those four characters, tell their story, and make it multiplayer where you can go in with 3 buddies, not like the Avengers that they did, but
a proper structure.
Insomniac told Fantastic Four game would be ridiculous.
You know what's wild? Wasn't there talks about them coming into the MCU as well?
No, there's a rumor that they're going to be introduced in Quantum Mania. That somehow they got
that would be the perfect way of getting them in. I'm not even kidding. That would be perfect to get them in the conversation again, because Fantastic Four is a great comic. They're great.
First family.
Yeah,
you're a comic book reader, and I am. That's the first family. And, it would be, because again, the Ant-Man 3 Quantumania is supposed to introduce them. Maybe it's a rumor. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's one of the running rumors that they got trapped in that realm, and they're going to come back, and obviously it's going to be a family out of time. So kind of like Captain America, but
boom. You know how like obviously Sony likes the AAA, crazy explosion type of events in their games. Imagine they had that imagine if Insomniac did Ant-Man, And they did that with like him turning small, jumping into models, getting shot at, bullets flying. He does the stuff, and he turns small. Come on, there's so much stuff. There's so many possibilities with each particular character, and that's the. I really want Microsoft part of that conversation, whether it's DC or Marvel. I need them to be part of that conversation.
I agree. Look. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm going to say my piece and we'll move on to the topic. Here's the thing: if you're an Xbox fan, if you are a diehard Xbox fan like I am, right? There are 3 holes in their portfolio, right? And I've talked about this time and time again, and I'm going to talk about it until I have no more breath. The superhero thing, not being a part of the conversation, in my humble opinion, is a monstrous mistake, right? Just completely giving it to Sony and receding is a mistake. Not having a platformer in the conversation when you mother effing have a platformer like Banjo-Kazooie is terrible, right? And allowing Sony to become the king of fighters, right? We saw it. They have taken over the conversation when it comes to fighters because all of these games are just Sony. Well, you have Killer Instinct, and again, give Phil and all that team credit for everything right that they've done. Because I can't complain that they haven't done things right, but he specifically talked about that on an interview that he did. I don't remember the podcast name, but he said that him and Matt Booty constantly talk about Killer Instinct, but they don't have the team. Yeah. Look, I'm gonna be honest, man. You're Microsoft. You can buy a team if it means that much. But again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole.
They got plenty of studios, plenty of talent to make dream projects.
Yeah.
Even if you add Bethesda, if you were to throw a Bethesda team, like I'm dead serious, they have so much
plus,
talent.
they could go and get like that whole thing is an excuse too, Boom, because Microsoft's MO for like the first couple generations was making third-party deals with third-party developers for their first-party exclusives, right? Including some of the biggest franchises like Gears of War was actually developed by Epic. Mass Effect used to be exclusive. Splinter Cell used to be exclusive. All of these things, they used to go to these third-party companies to bring exclusives. Now they got out of that, right? But they're sort of still doing it with Contraband, with Avalanche, right?
Yeah.
So there's potential. There's a lot of developers out there. In fact, the last time they made Killer Instinct, they went to a third-party developer. They're out there. It's just they're kind of getting away from that and mainly focusing on first party. But for me personally, this is not an attack on them because they're doing so many things right. But to your point, they kind of at times are too satisfied with the fact that the genres feel filled on the platform by third party. For example, they're satisfied that maybe Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy is coming to Xbox, or Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. Their eyes, hey, the genre is taken care of, right? Phil said this before, like he looks for filling holes on the platform, and they didn't have before like an Uncharted type game. Therefore, they went and made the deal for Tomb Raider, right? And if something's satisfied by third party on the platform, they's like, okay, we don't need to make that kind of game because there's already games coming out on the Xbox like that. But there is something to have a huge superhero game, or let's say another IP like Indiana Jones, which is coming to the platform that will draw in an audience, right? Fighting games will draw in an audience, and they're missing that go for certain genre kind of mentality a little bit with the first party lineup, where they're comfortable with the multiplayers and the shooters and the RPGs. But there's some other things that people really love that if you put a little bit more focus into some of that stuff, you may find that you're going to even attract more gamers, right?
100%.
So I would like,
especially if you what is Microsoft trying to do? They're trying to sell you on a service. And I take nothing away from Game Pass. For crying out loud, they have 400 as of yesterday, 487 games, nearly 500 games in Xbox Game Pass. That's madness. That's complete madness for $15 a month. It doesn't even seem feasible
And it's
Right?
only going to continue to grow.
And it's
So,
only going to grow. We heard the whole Take-Two
mm,
thing about 30 million maybe slipping out when it probably shouldn't have. But listen, we got to move on to the next topic. It's a big one, folks. It surrounds the Game Awards, and of course, we're talking Xbox because something big is supposed to happen. I got some new information that I want to talk about, but before I get to that topic, I got to get to the super chats. There's been quite a few of them. First of all, Nightwolf 3186, welcome back, brother. Glad that you're here. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "What if it becomes?" They're talking about the game, the Insomniac game, a Destiny version of X-Men Legends. Yes, please. X-Men Legends was dope.
oh yeah.
Victor Alistine drops a $2 super chat and says, the only good X-Men game was the arcade version. The arcade version was dope. It was really good. I love side-scrolling beat-em-ups. We need more of those in our lives. And Avengers, Turtles, which are new Turtles we're getting next year. It's just, the list goes on and on. John B., generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, able to get a PS5 with Target drop today. Oh, dude, congratulations. Bought one last year, but he gave it to my nephew for Christmas. This one is mine. Great show. Yeah, good on you, brother, that you gave it to because I'm sure your nephew nearly fell out of his chair because I'm sure his friends didn't have it, and that it was ultra cool. You are definitely the cool uncle. No doubt about that. John America drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, for Xbox to counter, they should pay to have Guardians of the Galaxy and Midnight Suns on day one on Xbox Game Pass. It will make the games appeal like Xbox exclusive appear like their Xbox exclusives. Yeah, I agree. I think that there is something to be said about that. I mean, obviously we have the next big drop for Game Pass is Back for Blood. That is going to be big. I think that's next week. I think it is, or the week after.
Week after. I think this week after.
Yeah, it's going to be that's big. So I definitely agree there. Thank you for the support, my brother.
Bro, if you had Punisher, that'll be a mic drop moment, though.
Dude, I've been saying it for a while. Give me Coalition Punisher.
Oh, or I don't know if you've seen it, Boom. Shang-Chi.
Hello, yeah. I didn't see it because I kind of refused to go back to the theaters just yet. That's why I didn't go see Venom. Listen, I've actually postponed shows to go check out new MCU films with my brother Neo Mental, and I'm just, man, I'll just wait. It
does feel awkward. It feels awkward. I will say that, but the movie, that deserves a game. I'm serious.
Yeah, I heard. I watch a lot of Marvel podcasts, and they all good things for Shang-Chi.
I want Shang-Chi, but like a BioWare style, like Jade Empire game.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, that's great. Good stuff. Drawn TJ drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Says Microsoft needs to buy WB and the creators of Kena Bridge of Spirits to make a AAA game together. That's interesting. I think Kena is because obviously we don't know for sure, but the rumor is that that's coming to Xbox, and it's Kena, I believe. I keep mispronouncing it. I think it's Kena. So it's KAY -NE, so NA. It's not spelled that way. It's pronounced that way. I think the developers actually went out and did a whole thing about how to pronounce Kena. So it is Kena. I've always mispronounced it, but the game is dope. If you like platformers like I do, the game is dope. It's really good. Eternal Umbra drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Morning, gentlemen. Seeing you as guys are busy with the show, you've likely missed the news that Konami is having a new game development." Yes, listen, that I pulled that story, I swear to you, dude, like minutes before the show went live. And I don't like to shoot from the hip when I don't have all the information. I have the story. I pulled that from VGC. Yes, Konami is making new installments of Metal Gear Solid and Castlevania. What are my thoughts? Yes, and yes. It just depends on who's doing it. The Castlevania Game Boy Advance stuff just dropped onto all of the services. I bought it. I did not play it. I beat all those games on the Game Boy Advance. I will play them again. They were fan-freaking-tastic. And I believe I'm up to date on the Super Chat. So thank everyone so far Rain G4, I saw you say sliding through. Welcome, brother. Welcome. The next topic I want to talk about, folks, is the Game Awards. And we have some new information that came to us via Jeff Keighley himself, that it is going to be an in-person event. It means people are going to be coming to the event as it stands today. The world is the world, folks, right? It could go completely terrible, and we could see, a Delta variant just kind of, get us into a hard stop. I don't know. I hope that everyone who is going to help beat this thing, get vaccinated, do your thing, do your part, and just be careful out there. But we have information that it is going to be held at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, California this year. It is expected to be very big. They already named a bunch of guests that are going to be joining there. Some stars, some popular stars are going to be there. But what is interesting, and this comes to us from Jeffrey Grub, as Greg Miller calls him, friend of this show, someone that has been a part of Primetime Gaming and who is, of course, going to come back because we've been talking. Jeff Grubb, love Jeff Grubb. I think he is an incredible voice in the community. Love what he does with VentureBeat and love what he does on his podcast, which I watch weekly, one of many. But he seems to think that Hellblade 2 is going to make a monster appearance at the Game Awards. And I want to talk about that because this is a game that came to light. We kind of knew, right? It was, I think it was almost, assumed that Hellblade 2 was eventually going to come out. We didn't know that it was until, of course, it showed up on the 2019 Game Awards that shocked the world for two reasons. One, it was the first look of the Series X, and I say this to this day, balls of steel to do that. But then, of course, they showed us a CG trailer that was incredible of Hellblade 2. And obviously, if you know anything about development, Ninja Theory, like many studios for Sony, they're very heavy in the mocap, and the mocap was put on hiatus during the start of COVID. So we understand that the game did get some delay, but what we're hearing is that we could get an actual gameplay trailer. I think, considering the year that Microsoft has had, and they've had a monster year of big announcements and breathtaking events for fans, this would be the cherry on top of the sundae. So I'm going to reverse it again, and I'm going to start first with BitCloud Gaming. BitCloud, look, if there's one AAA banger that we're all waiting to see a gameplay of, I would dare say that it is a Ninja Theory's Hellblade 2, the sequel to the award-winning game that originally launched as a PlayStation exclusive and eventually came to the Xbox. And of course, then even the Switch has a Hellblade, if I'm not mistaken. Did they have Hellblade 1?
I don't think
maybe
so.
not. Maybe not.
Maybe it does. I'm not really sure.
You know what? I don't. I just tossed it up. I'm not even sure. Could the Switch even run it? Is the question. I don't think so. But anyway, getting back to the point.
That's spicy.
I'm not a Switch hater, folks. I play every night with the missus. We play Animal Crossing. Yes, I'm a big old nerd, and I play Animal Crossing with the missus every night. We don't even watch movies anymore. It's gotten to the point of obsession, which is why I cannot wait for the not the Switch Pro, because the OLED.
The new
dude, I'm getting
thing?
it because now I play portable. She uses the TV, and I'm sitting there beside her, and we're playing Animal Crossing, and the screen's a little small, but the OLED. Have anyone seen any of the unboxings? Looks dope. I cannot wait. But let me reel it back in. Is it important for Xbox, more specifically Ninja Theory, to show this game running? I mean, we're not going to get a 15-minute.
Yeah, I don't expect.
They're not going to pull a Forbidden West thing where we're going to see 13 minutes of gameplay. But I would love to see maybe 3-4 minutes, show an opening movie trailer, then get into the gameplay and then bounce. I think it would be the cherry on top for everything that Microsoft has done right this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, So when we first saw, the reveal, obviously with the Xbox Series X as well, the reveal, it would be a cool, like, full circle type of thing to get an update on it, at least see what's going to happen. I'm not expecting no crazy, like, gameplay reveal. I mean, I would like to see it, but again, I think that's putting a little too much pressure on the developer, because the last time we saw it, they were taking pictures of the actual island that they were going to be using as, like, the base for the game. You know what I mean? And so they were kind of in level design, the last update we actually got for that game. I'm not expecting crazy stuff, but in terms of what they could show, it would be cool to see at least a CGI trailer of some sorts, and maybe like with a message at the end, like, hey guys, yeah, coming something, or reveal coming this something, that type of date. That'd be a good way to continue to build hype for the game. But it would be cool to see it. I'm not gonna lie, it would be cool to see, Senor.
Absolutely. I love the full circle commentary. I think you're onto something with that.
Oh yeah, because
And of
Jeff's been
course,
or not, yeah,
yeah,
Jeff
I
Keighley's
mean,
been trusted
yes.
bigly. And on top of that, if y'all think about it, in terms of shows, the Game Awards has literally taken the place of E3 in a sense for moments. It feels like now. This
Look,
it's up there. It's up there.
I'm going to say this. I've again, this is something that I've said before, and I will say it again. Whether or not you agree with the way Jeff does his business, whether you like the Game Awards or absolutely loathe them, that's your opinion. I've said this, and I'm going to say it again. Jeff is an important part of the industry.
Yeah.
He has made gaming, the awards specifically, an important part of gaming. I think it is what his contributions to making it mainstream regarding awards.
Yeah.
Has been big. It's been huge for the industry. I said this last year. Remember, this is we're still fighting COVID, and somehow or another, he made one of the best game awards I've ever witnessed. The presentation was second to none. So
You know what his show has, and it's lacking in E3. It feels like it just feels like an event. It feels special.
His
it
thing
has
seems a little personal. Like it's a personal touch that he puts on it that you don't get at E3, because E3 is so massive and there's so many, but he seems to be able to bring it all together. Now, again, I have publicly I don't want to say shunned, because I don't shun anybody. I have had a disagreement of the way Jeff has done things. We have talked publicly on Twitter. I don't use big bad words. You're not going to get anywhere with that, right? So we've had conversations. Do I agree with everything he's done? The answer is I absolutely do not. He wears his PlayStation love of PlayStation on his sleeve. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but when you're in the business, it's hard for me to say you got to pick a side. You're supposed to kind of be even. Sometimes it doesn't seem even with Jeff, and I think he knows that, and I think he's cleaned that up a bit. But I still think that what he has done for the industry is super important. And listen, I'm looking forward to the Game Awards 2021.
He also, remember correctly, there was a report going around that we'll get an update on Project Abandon as well at this particular show. I don't know if that was true or not, but if it's Kojima related, like a lot of people think it is, then obviously it will be at the show or whatever. Blue Point, actually no, Blue Box Game Studios was going to show. So yeah, he did say we're going to get an update on that soon. So.
I don't believe anything when it comes to that game right now. We'll see what's gonna happen. It's just so much craziness with that game, dude.
Hey man, the amount of hurdles that Hassan Kierman has made for himself for that game is very questionable. So I guess.
Yeah. I mean, listen, only time is going to tell. But you know something? Steezy Bone in the chat writes Kojima with the eyes, and I think you're onto something. I didn't have a part of the notes, but we'll talk about it. Mav, let's bring you in on the conversation. I think Hellblade 2 is going to be there for a significant amount of reasons. I think it's going to close the door on an incredible 2021 for Xbox for a multitude of reasons. And this, again, for me, it's the cherry on top. I also think that one of the big announcements, and again, this is in the Microsoft theater, so why not, have some big Microsoft announcements? we have all been waiting, and honestly, I thought Tokyo Game Show was going to be the place, and it turned out to be incorrect once again. That they were going to show someone from Microsoft, specifically Phil. I think that's a Phil Spencer kind of a scenario. Come out or interview with Kojima-san, because obviously they're trying to garner a significant amount of oomph in Japan, which they are, folks. If you didn't know, the Xbox Series S is #1 in Japan, Amazon, and the X is #3, and that's a big deal considering that you could have filled my apartment of how many series, the Xbox Ones that they sold in Japan during the generation. It really wasn't a lot. So, and my apartment isn't that big, so it is a big deal. But I can see a Kojima announcement, and we've seen him come out and put out these incredible trailers that are years ahead of the game, but still sets up the conversation of, holy shit, there's going to be a Kojima exclusive on Xbox. And those are two announcements I can see happening. Where do you fall in it?
Yeah, so first with Hellblade, it makes a lot of sense. That's where they originally revealed the game, and
Yep.
that trailer, I believe, was even confirmed as an engine at that time. After the fact, so I would anticipate the next thing we see from them to at least be somewhat similar to that first trailer, except maybe expanded upon, maybe either showing more of the world or really focus on Senua and her story a little bit, about where maybe a glimpse at a hint of where the story's going with this, right? I hope to see it there. And the rumor was that it was pushed out of E3, uh, and maybe held specifically for this event. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it is interesting that's at the Microsoft Theater too. Like, I wonder if like there's some kind of deal going on between them to allow the use of the theater. That's just thought. I don't know. But with Jeff's shows, like, he stepped it up a lot the last couple of years, right? And
Yeah.
not just with the Game Awards, because we had the Game Awards last year or 2 years ago when they revealed the Series X. That's a huge thing to reveal a freaking console at a show like that. And then that's where we originally saw Hellblade. Last year we saw Perfect Dark, right? So this year, I would anticipate another huge announcement or glimpse at a game. Some people have even been hinting at Avowed could potentially just show
Yeah.
up in some kind of way.
Yeah.
So Hellblade 2, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see that there. It just makes a lot of sense. And it's kind of they when they have such a where they know there's going to be a crazy large audience, right? Because Jeff brings in the viewers for these things, right? Everybody's going to be streaming. I'm going to be co-streaming it. There's a lot of people are going to be watching these things, and they know that it's not just Xbox gamers. It's not just that's the thing. They want to have stuff at these shows that are going to bring in people to the platforms, not just selling only to the people that currently have the platform, right? They people that love Halo, love Forza, love all these other things, they already have an Xbox, right?
Yep.
But showing somebody something as graphically mind-blowing as potentially Hellblade 2 will be, is a way to completely bring in an audience, especially people that are fans of games like God of War, fans of games like, you know, any of these other PlayStation, like Last of Us or Uncharted. You know, if you have something in that vein there where you're going to have a large PlayStation audience as well, you're potentially going to grab some people to your platform. So that's maybe why they choose what they choose sometimes. I think it would be a smart move. Um, and what was the second part again? Boom.
Kojima.
Yeah,
What are the
Kojima.
chances
Right.
of Kojima-san coming out and
Yeah.
making his announcement? Not only that he has, because we know that the contract was signed. Like we've heard the inner workings of what
Right.
was
Yeah.
going on.
I think that's a done deal too. Like, I think this would make sense with just ties with Kojima
Yeah.
to have here. And not only that, like, what do we just have that's being activated today? Cloud gaming in Japan is a thing today. That was announced yesterday, is happening today, right? And when Kojima was talking about the future of game development, the last interview he did with Jeff is, you're going to hear things in the future about things that's going to be different than what you're used to. And I'm thinking about where the people where the platforms are going forward in the future. It's almost like he's alluding to some kind of new tech, right? And I think cloud gaming, which has also been rumored that Xbox hired somebody specifically to work with him from
Yes,
Google,
I forgot
right?
the lady's name. She was working with Kojima specifically when she was at the Google
Right.
Stadia, and she
So
left there because when the game, obviously they kind of doubled down on they're not doing these big things. When he decided that he was going to team up with Xbox, Microsoft hired her specifically because she has an understanding of what he wants to do.
right, and that's what I had heard. It makes a lot of sense, right? Especially with that announcement that Japan has got great networks, got great internet, all that kind of stuff. So it's built well for cloud gaming with the infrastructure. It's already there, right? So I would imagine that this could be a very successful thing there. Plus, you already have like you said, the console sales are picking up and everything. So Kojima, it would maybe the time to make that announcement at the Game Awards, which is bigger audience than Tokyo Game Show, which is where you would have
Yeah.
said maybe that's where they would have done this, but Game Awards is a bigger audience. Now the other question I have is this is like the day after Halo comes out, right? And it's almost 3 weeks after the Xbox's 20th anniversary, right? If is Xbox going to have an event before the Game Awards, or maybe they're going to have some big trailers or anything like that as well? I will be a little disappointed as a fan of the platform if there's not something to celebrate the 20th anniversary. And I would want to see something cool about the future of Xbox at that event if they have one.
Well, the 15 the 20th anniversary happens to fall on November 15th. I'm already show planning. That happens to be the the day that we have primetime gaming. I'm putting a monster show together for that. I'm literally working on that now. And today's the first day of
Yeah.
October. I expect something big. I don't know if we're going to get an XO this year. I don't know. Microsoft has to do it up, if you will.
Mhm.
It's the 20th anniversary of both Master Chief and the platform. They got to do something big. I think that the next big reveal of the single player campaign is going to come at this so-called event, whenever it is going to be. I believe it is going to be around or very close to the 20th anniversary, because obviously we're getting the game, 2.5 weeks later. Multiplayer and single player on December 8th. So I expect something big. I will say this: if you look at what Microsoft has been doing at the Game Awards since 2019, now 2019 we already discussed. They show the X, they show Hellblade 2. The world stops in its track. They can't believe what just happened, right? Well, let's talk about what they showed last year. Last year at the Game Awards, they revealed Perfect Dark, which in the cinematic trailer, which was dope. Again, cinematic trailer. Some people love them. I do. Some people hate them. Like, oh, I want gameplay. It's okay. I'll take the trailer. We'll get gameplay when the game comes out. Sony does it and everyone loves it, so Microsoft can do it and love it, and then people can
Yeah.
love it.
It's also the matters when the
At
game
times
is
like
like
this,
Yes,
it's
if a
times like
game's
this in
3
their
years
moments.
away, you can't do gameplay. There's no
I
gameplay. Then that's
100%.
it.
Yeah,
Like
100%. So I'm okay with the CG trailer. They announced that Master Chief arrives in Fortnite. That was a big announcement. I was very shocked by that. And keep your ears peeled. I believe it's the 5th, which is next week. Master Chief. Again, I'm not breaking the news. I'm just saying what I think, and I think that Special Nick believes was talking about this on Xbox Era as well. The last and final character of Smash Ultimate on the Switch is going to be Master Chief. I called it. I called it a year ago. I'm calling it now. Expect that announcement's coming on the 5th. There's a reason why they didn't announce it at the Nintendo Direct last week. There's a reason why it's its own event, because Master Chief deserves it, and I believe that he is going to be the final character for Smash Brothers Ultimate on the Switch. Mark my words. We'll come back to this podcast and I'll be able to tell you I told you so. They also announced Flight Simulator coming to Xbox Series X and S in summer of 2021, which it has released. And they also, the two more announcements, two smaller ones, was the Cyberpunk 2077 vehicle came to Forza Horizon 4 as a free download, and they also debuted Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide gameplay. So we had back-to-back years of what I consider to be pretty big announcements. Fuzzy, where do you fall on Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2 making an appearance, and do you think the stage has been set to have Kojima come out with Phil Spencer at his friend's place? I mean, we know that they're best friends. What are your thoughts?
All right, I'll start with the Senua Saga. It makes sense, although I didn't expect that this game would be what this would suggest as far as being closer to release. Like showing it again, like at 2 years, I think it almost promises at latest an early 2023 type
Yeah,
of release date.
I'm thinking that's what I'm thinking as well. Yeah.
It may be even sooner, and that would be amazing considering like what Big Cloud was saying earlier with when they were showing like the pictures of the island, and with it being an engine or the CGI stuff from like 2 years ago. They would have come a long way in that shorter period of time. And I know they even have like a smaller team working on like that Project Mara in the background kind of thing as well. But it signifies to me that the game is a little bit further along than what a lot of people were probably expecting. So it would be awesome, and that would definitely put a stamp on. I know we talked about this prior to the show. It would put a stamp on what Microsoft is doing with Ninja Theory. There was a few individuals that questioned, "Oh, what did Microsoft do with Ninja Theory, or why would they acquire them?" Well, now we'll see. But yeah, it would be an awesome appearance, especially if it's going to be more gameplay. I'm still expecting CGI or in-engine stuff, but if they actually show gameplay, then that definitely tells us that expect this within about a year's time, maybe sooner even.
I mean,
Now,
holiday 2022, or potentially, like you said, 2023 first quarter seems very feasible.
Yeah, and that would be perfect timing. I mean, they got to kind of space these games out now that they have all these studios and teams working on stuff. Keep a steady pace, but don't overload us too much.
Yeah.
But speaking on the Kojima aspect, I know a lot of people were expecting to see it maybe at the Tokyo Game Show. I kind of always had the feeling, especially when they hired the one lady from Stadia that was working with him before, I always kind of figured they're not going to announce anything unless it's on the Video Game Awards. His best friend type of thing being the one to kind of bring him on stage or him make an appearance. Because, just having the Kojima there to just appear there to talk about maybe the director's cut of a game that, they talked about last year as well. I don't foresee that being as big of a reason for him to appear, but he's going to be there. And I figured that would be the perfect time to announce his game, or that, it'll be releasing on Game Pass. And while it may be the same cloud game that he was expecting to work on with Stadia, or maybe something, a little bit more, updated or iterative. Oh, I can't even speak right now. From what he was originally planning, it would definitely be a welcome sign, and that it feels like that's the better stage. Like, people in Japan already know who he is. Yes, he's pretty much the prodigal son there, but it may not be as impactful. The biggest thing for that region, it seems like what they were talking about with Game Pass being available, or cloud gaming being available there, I think was more impactful because gaming is more mobile, or moving a little bit away from like the under your TV console type of setup. So that seemed like it was more impactful for that region. But for us in the States, or even those in the UK or other parts of the world, being fans of whether it's any of his previous works in Metal Gear or with Death Stranding, this is the stage to announce that. So it makes more sense that, like, I kind of always thought that this would be where something would be announced, and I don't want to disappoint myself by saying I expect it, but it's kind of it almost seems like the room is
The
setting up to
stage
be
has
that
been
way.
set. It's the
Exactly.
Microsoft Theater. Jeff Keighley is very good friends with Kojima.
Mhm.
The director's cut of Death Stranding is already out, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason to talk about that. And we do know that he has, signed a deal with Microsoft to make an exclusive or several exclusives. And again, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't that be one of the big announcements? We've been waiting. Again,
Mhm.
I thought Tokyo Game Show because of who he is,
Yeah.
but it turns out that was probably good to hold it back and save it
Yeah.
for the Game Awards, which is the end of the year. It's the end of the year, hurrah! Right before the holidays, and like I said, it would be pretty epic to have Microsoft, close out a very successful 2021 campaign with some Hellblade 2 news and a Kojima announcement. I think it would be epic. But folks, listen, we are 20 under 20 minutes, 14 minutes away from the 12 o'clock starting of Big Team Battle for Halo Infinite, which I'm going to be playing. Before I do anything, I'm going to record some footage for potentially Monday's show. But listen, folks, I'm going to get to the outros, get everyone out of here, get everyone in front of their TVs, play the Halo Infinite if you got the invitation. And I want to thank everyone that turned out. We had over 300 people here. Thank you so much. Of course, the super chats that came in were monstrous once again, and I cannot thank you for the generosity. Let's get to our outros, and we'll start first with our two guests. Fuzzy Belvedere, thank you so much for joining us, brother. It's great to have you back on the panel. Please tell everyone where they could reach out to you on social media, but what other shows you are on.
Well, Boom, just want to thank you so much for having me on. Greatly appreciate it, and thank the chat for being awesome. Guys are great. Interacting with you guys as far as all the topics and just gaming in general. Awesome panel with Mav and Big Cloud. You guys are awesome. You can find me on the Shop Podcast on Saturday evenings at 6 p.m. Arizona time, which ends up being like around 9 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. after the daylight hour change, with the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam, Pong Soul, and Centurion, talking shop as far as games. Even though we talk a bit about all systems, mainly focus around like a lot of the stuff that we play on Xbox Live, and so forth. Don't want to spoil anything because Mav can probably make a better announcement for it. You'll also find me earlier on Saturday evenings on 6 p.m. Texas time. Oh wait, is it Texas? Yeah, I think, yeah, it was 6 p.m. Eastern time on FSP. I'll leave the rest of the intro for Mav on that one.
Yeah.
And then as far as when it comes to social media, you can find me on Twitter, usually talking about Forza, or more recently my big hooked on game, Insurgency Sandstorm at Fuzzy_Belvedere. And it's the same thing for my gamer tag and PSN ID, Fuzzy_Belvedere on PSN, Fuzzy Space Belvedere on Xbox Live. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for that. And of course, Mav, and I know you want to talk about your new program you've added to your already two incredible programs. Thank you so much for joining us, brother. You answered the call and you did magnificent as expected. Talk about the Xbox Ultimate Podcast. Talk about Fun Pop, but also talk about your new show that includes Fuzzy Belvedere.
Yes, sir. Fun show today, guys. Awesome topics, great discussion. Again, shout out to Christopher Judge. You're awesome. Hey, we have multiple shows over at Fun Speculation on YouTube. You can catch all the channel updates and everything on Twitter at Fun Speculation. So speaking of those shows, Friday night, which is tonight, is Xbox Ultimate Podcast, where we have the Magnificent Seven. We talk all things Xbox. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to dive a little bit more into Starfield today. Probably talk about some of the big team battle with Halo that we're gonna get a chance to play in a little bit, and also maybe some of this Konami stuff that we just found out about. We'll dive into some of that. But also we have on Wednesdays we have Fun Pop, which is Marvel, DC, Star Wars, comic books, movies, TV shows, all that fun stuff. Wednesdays at 7. And as Fuzzy said, yes, there is a new show coming to the channel that is a non-console specific show. It's going to be called FSP, Fun Speculation Podcast. It's going to be Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And that will feature Fuzzy Belvedere, Phasma, as well as Gaming Key. If you're familiar with him, he's a great streamer over there. He has a great YouTube channel as well. So, and Phasma does writing for Season Gaming, and Fuzzy just told you everywhere that he told you everywhere he can be found as well. So it's going to be an awesome panel. We're looking forward to bringing you just great discussions. A lot of just gamers that play on everything, right? So that's what I wanted that show to be about. So look forward to that. Again, that's going to be starting October 9th, Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Looking forward to seeing what you guys do. Great panel. Very interested to check out the first show. And hopefully one day I can make an appearance on there as well. I think you got some good things going on, Matt. Thank you for joining us today. And last and no way least, the man of the hour, BitCloud. If you missed yesterday, he interviewed the voice actor behind the iconic Agent 47. Definitely go and check out that video. Got a chance to check it out live, which was pretty cool. BitCloud, talk about your channel, talk about hitting 10K, and where can people reach out to you and strike up a conversation on social media?
Yeah, show was great. Thanks for having me as always. Shout out to Mav, Fuzzy, as always. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you. Yes, Boom is correct. Yesterday we interviewed Agent 47, and it was great to hear his insight on, his legacy in the gaming industry. My next two guests are gonna make Boom's jaw hit the floor. I'm just gonna tell you right now, he's really gonna be shocked by that. But you guys can find me at BitCloud Gaming, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, whole 9 yards. Every Friday, obviously 5 p.m. RGT podcast. We have Pope Art coming through today.
Dude.
So I'm looking forward to today's show. Gonna have fun. But yeah, appreciate y'all. See you all next week and enjoy your weekend.
I'll be tuning into that. I got his Needler Xbox Special Edition controller. Just got my confirmation that's being mailed out on Monday. Cannot wait to get my hands on the second one.
Nice.
I have this one right here. This one is pretty dope. This is the Cyberpunk one that looks torn. I mean, it looks like it's really torn. It's crazy how good his work is.
Man. This is one of the main reasons I want him to. I really want a superhero for Xbox too. Because imagine his take on like a superhero console.
Yeah, it would be pretty dope. Listen, thank you so much for the 300 people that tuned in. So a lot of new names. If you are new, please consider subscribing to Double Barrel Gaming. And would be greatly appreciated on your way out that you hit the like button. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he used to say, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. And I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.